Amazing, amazing. Hope everyone's had a great ECC. It's been a pretty busy week, a spectacular week. It's been awesome being here in Europe. My name is Remington Rodney. I'll be moderating this panel. I'm partnerships lead at Proof of Talent. We're a Web3 recruiting agency based in the US. And for this panel, we're going to be discussing navigating the Web3 space, specifically for candidates and also clients and hiring managers trying to build and grow their teams. So to get started, we've got an excellent group of panelists here. I'd love for you guys to each introduce yourselves, and we'll go from there.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Ladyshenski, and I'm from Page Executive, maybe better well known as Michael Page. I've been there for 12 years. I built up a big tech team over there and then fell in love with blockchain, as probably most of us, a couple of years ago. And since last year, I've been operating in stealth mode a bit, doing blockchain recruitment for them. And now, 4 months ago, I became their first partner for blockchain Web3 recruitment, focusing on C-level positions. So that's about me. And I'm from Germany.
Okay, hello everyone, I'm Paul, I'm running Stack Talent. We are the largest Web3 agency in recruitment in France, but also having activities all over the world, in particular in Lisbon, in London, etc., etc. And so we are recruiting, helping Web3 companies to grow with tech talent, with support talents, etc. So yeah, we are here to help candidates to find their way and to help companies to find the right person.
Hi everyone, my name is Nelson. I am the global head of HR for Gate.io, which is a centralized exchange. My responsibilities there are basically to look after the people who look after the people at Gate. And also I am the founder and CEO of Dewey, which is an HR consultancy company for Web3 startups. So basically I help Web3 projects take their HR operations from 0 to 1 as well. And I've been doing both for about 2 to 3 years now. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much. We've obviously got some experts within the talent space, not only externally, but also within the internal space, which is great. But before we get started with our first question, raise a hand. How many people here are actually job seekers, actually looking for their next position within the Web3 space? Okay, perfect, perfect. And then how about hiring managers looking to scale your team right now? How many do we have in the audience? There we go. Perfect, perfect. Well, yeah, we'll cater it towards other people looking for their next position. It's obviously an incredible market right now. Despite the bear market, there's still a ton of opportunities. So, kind of hearing from you guys, why would one of these individuals want to join the Web3 space, and what's the difference between working in Web3 versus Web2?
Yeah, you mean the first question was why people would want to join Web3? Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, well, based on experiences and many candidate interviews, I'd say it's, for some people it's money, because of course some people expect, hey, there is a really high pay, it's a very innovative tech space, but most people actually join more because of really the innovation pace and also decentralization ethos. Maybe for tech people, decentralization is more important than for marketing and sales people, at least that's my experiences. Sales and marketing people are maybe more drawn to the internationality of the whole thing, because you work globally across time zones, across different locations, and it's kind of cool and yeah, cool vibe. So these could be motivations. Job security is probably less of a motivation in the space, I would say. Yeah.
And Paul, how about you?
Yeah, I do share. I would say that you don't get into Web3 if you're not passionate, if you don't want to make an impact. If you don't share the philosophy of the ecosystem, so it's a real specific ecosystem, it's a tiny one, and you don't get here like pure randomly. So yeah, I think that's what makes the difference.
Yeah, I agree with what Anna said. Typically when I ask people what got them into Web3 or why they're interested in Web3, it's typically one of 3 things. It's either the potential for financial gains, the technology aspect of it within blockchain, or the philosophy of decentralization. Yeah. So for me personally, definitely the third one. Only later I came to find out the wonders of the other 2. But definitely what I think brings people together, and this would be probably the main difference for people now looking into join Web3, is that there's already one of these 3 that connects all of us here and everybody wanting to look into Web3. So if you're interested in Web3, it's because you feel strongly about one of these three aspects of it, and that I think this unifying aspect of what you hope to find in Web3, I think is unique to it versus Web2 or any other industry. Yeah, so that would be kind of my take.
I mean, kind of building off that as well, like we're building the future of technology. This is a brand new industry. Getting in at this stage is so early. We're not even near mass adoption, so you're literally a pioneer within the ecosystem, and I think that's a really incredible opportunity. And so, kind of transitioning from there, what are the best practices or strategies for someone looking to enter the space? Like, what types of strategies or practices should they be implementing to get a job in the ecosystem?
I guess it depends what you are or who you are. Are you more in tech or are you more in other divisions? But in general, even regardless of whether you're tech or BD, what is definitely a good strategy is hackathons. To just join a hackathon for yourself first to see, is that my environment? Do I like what people are building here? Do I like the vibe? And also you get noticed at hackathons. I just met a friend of mine whom I met 1 year ago, last time in Berlin at a conference, at my first one actually. And she's been with a company, then things didn't work out, topic of job security. And then she went to a hackathon with another thriving ecosystem and really made a good job there. They noticed her and they are offering employment to her now. So hackathons are a real thing. Yeah, you can build there, you can try it out, meet other fellow builders, and just get noticed by those companies who are looking to hire.
You want to go? So I would say, and going back to the philosophy of decentralization, job hunting and job searching too can be decentralized, and from what I know, for sure it is in Web3 as well. So I have never been or known an industry where the fruit has hung so low in terms of how accessible, let's say, CEOs are from projects, how easy it is to reach out to hiring managers as well. So you can be in a project and you can just go into their Discord, literally, or harass the hiring manager on Twitter, for example. Like, people are there. There's a really high involvement X reward relationship there as well. So I've known a lot of people who've gotten jobs by just joining Discord, joining telegrams of projects they're interested in, and being useful. You were saying, Remy, that we're all super early. No one is an expert or has been an expert for 20 years in Web3, yeah? If you start today learning about a project or a front of Web3, I guarantee you within 3 weeks, you will know enough to be onboarding people who joined that project 3 weeks from now, and that will be noticed by the heads or the CEOs or the founders of that project. So I would say, in the spirit of decentralization as well, it's never been easy to take this process into our own hands and walk the walk and get involved and show up and raise your hand and be noticed. And that, I've seen, produces more results in terms of job finding in Web3 than I see it being just as effective in any other industry as well.
Maybe to add something to that, I mean, I really, really loved what you said, and I absolutely agree. But maybe one thing I noticed is that you should also expect not everybody getting back to you, no matter how good you connect with people and everything. And sometimes you feel like, wow, we hit it off, we had this awesome conversation, and then this person never responds anymore. This is kind of, from my point of view, much more prone or more normal in Web3 than it is in Web2, where everything is a bit more established and, you know, people do get back to you. And here it's really like, I don't know, this internationality, intercultural differences as well. So I guess don't be discouraged if you go to a conference or you go in a Discord and somebody doesn't like respond anymore or something. It's not personal probably, it's more like the space is just, you know, we're all looking for the next thing and we're all a bit, yeah, over the place, like too many things happening at the same time. So don't get discouraged, just continue to meet other people then.
I would say that going from Web2 to Web3 is a big question, and a lot of candidates of us ask us about. Typically, like a Web3 cabinet could make the bridge between the two. And to resume what kind of answer we can tell them, it's about experience, it's about communication, and it's about networking. So, well, my colleagues told you some elements. When I say networking, I think about events, I think about reaching out to funders, etc., etc. When I say about experience, it's about taking your experience in Web 2, I would say traditional experience, and to see what you've learned to use it into Web 3. It's about communicating in all your networks about what you are able to do. For example, I would say every network, would it be LinkedIn, would it be Twitter, GitHub, etc., etc. We do have, for example, as recruiters, tech tools to identify such profiles. And if you do not share your knowledge, your passion that you're interested by Web3, but you're working in a Web2 company or whatever, if you do not communicate, for example, on the README in GitHub that you have been able to do some solidity, that you are passionate about Web3, etc., etc., we wouldn't be able to identify you. You wouldn't be able to show that you have this interest, this maturity. And of course, you cannot begin from day one to day two to be a student and to work at consensus, but you can imagine like doing your own project to learn by yourself and step by step engaging into hackathons, engaging with other people in the areas, etc., etc. And step by step, you will be able to work in a Web3 company, for example, not at a Web3 role. It's not obvious. It's not like you don't have to be a Solidity developer to enter Web3. You can do lots of things. And so, yeah, the gap is not so huge. You can get it. And yeah, there is a lot of ways to enter Web3 space.
All really important points. And I think like highlighting personal branding, I think that's a huge aspect within the ecosystem, especially with social media, really highlighting your expertise. Hiring managers want to see that you can scale yourself before you can go in their organization and scale their business. And so Twitter, Discord, LinkedIn, like if you're not in those channels and integrating and networking with those communities, you're not going to have as good as an opportunity to get into the project. With that being said, what is, in your guys' opinion, the importance of building relationships with external recruiters and internal recruiters as well?
Yeah, I think, of course, a very important relationship. I mean, it would be weird if I say something else. But yeah, I think you should try to find the agency of your trust, because every agency is a bit different and has a bit of a different angle. For instance, it could be a very Web3 native agency, and that could be a good fit because you're looking really for this kind of job employment. But Web3 doesn't necessarily mean the Web3 industry. It could also mean doing Web3 in a Web2 environment. I don't know, for AWS, for instance. Like, you know, it's not really a Web3 job, but it kind of is, and it's like at the intersection. Then maybe another recruitment agency will be a better fit for you. Also, maybe some focus more on junior positions, and they do hackathons and organize that, and that might be a better fit depending on your career cycle right now or where you are. And for me, for instance, it would be more leadership roles, and this can be also an important moment to have a good relationship with a headhunter, because particularly leadership roles are rarely advertised. Sometimes Web3 companies do that because they are new and small, and they just try it out, but very often the C-level roles are not advertised for diverse reasons. Could be because the C person is still in the company and you first want to have a replacement before you, yeah, or you don't want to announce, yeah, guys, we don't have a CEO anymore, but we're looking for someone, because that feels like, okay, what is the company doing? So that's very sensitive recruitment very often. And then, of course, it's cool to have a relationship with a headhunter, but I would always have a look at what is this headhunter doing, because headhunting is a very like unclear business for many people. How do you distinguish a good headhunter from a not so good one? I would always recommend to ask, okay, do you know the projects that you're advertising to me? Do you know them in person? Where did you meet them? Whom do you know actually at this company? Because sometimes there are recruiters who are just like, they see an advertisement and they forward it to you and say, okay, you want to be presented here. And you say yes, but they never actually met anyone from this company, and they're using your profile as an entrance, which is legitimate if they say, hey, that's like this, we could try this. But yeah, I would always recommend to ask, okay, do you actually know this project that you claim to work for, and where did you guys meet? How intense is the relationship? Yeah.
I would add like using Web3 agencies for talents, as well as for companies, is really useful in the sense that, well, there are third parties, so they will do their best to, well, to make things happen. Meaning that for a candidate, you would get advice on your career, you would get advice on where you would be a good fit, you would have inside views. So it's always good points. And we try to be as second as much as possible. I would say talent agency like a coach for a football player in a way. When you have good candidates, you try to take them in the long run to plan a career in the long run and to help the person get better, to have the best path, and that is important. And yeah, together all of this in the way of talent, for talents, really useful for companies also to have external recruiters, to have specificities, experience in the field, etc., make the difference, and that's why, of course, we exist. Hope we are useful.
And maybe particularly with the salary thing, because particularly in Web3, people, the most frequently asked question I get is, what is the average salary for a CMO? Or what's the average salary for a developer? And I'm like, okay, that's very hard to answer in this very, very diverse field. And then an external agency can be very helpful. If they know the project, they can advise you, okay, if you come here with your 200K expectation, this will never work out. They just don't pay anything like this. It can be helpful before you apply and you're like, I want to have 200K because I think, I don't know, it's an American company, standard, I'm used to this. And then you realize, okay, I would have been happy with 150 or 100 or whatever your average is. And yeah, it could avoid, talking to us can avoid misunderstandings with a potential client and secure you the job in the end.
Yeah, I fully agree with the assessment of Paul and Anna here. And I would add two very practical benefits as well. Number one, going through a trusted partner for your recruitment process adds structure to it. So you have professionals making sure that you are guided throughout the process. And often, it makes sure you have a process rather than just probably a get-to-know conversation over Zoom. And this allows you and the potential hiring partner as well, or the company, to assess each other mutually and make an informed decision, rather than you just probably eagerly accepting a job offer that's made because you want that job, but later finding out it's not a great fit for you. So ensuring you are entitled to a process to get to know the other party is a very clear benefit, I would say. The other one is, much like everything else in Web3, job searching should also have its account of risk management, let's say. So by going through a third party, you also have the benefit of having that third party vetting the project that might hire you, yes? So they've gone through certain due diligences that happen before they take on a customer. So if you take on a potential project that might want to hire you, and this one is working through a third-party recruitment agency, you know there's been some level of vetting and due diligences that perhaps you wouldn't think of or want to or know how to conduct as well. And at the end of the day, that also protects you as a candidate, I'd say.
Thank you, guys. And I think another important aspect within that too is, not every recruiter you connect with or person you meet in the space is going to be that link to your job, but they also have a whole network depending on how long they've been in the ecosystem. You could very well be introduced to someone that could direct you to that next opportunity. If you're more of an executive level, we're oftentimes introducing people to be mentors at different venture capital firms or advisors at companies. So it's like, transactional relationships in Web3 is a massive no-no. It's not going to get you anywhere in the space, and it's really about building that genuine connection. I think out here as well, I've had a lot of conversations, and it seems like we're going to have some future founders and builders in the crowd as well. I'd love some, just your guys' perspective. What's the best strategy to attract and retain talent in Web3? Being an early stage founder in the ecosystem is not easy. We work with a lot, and I think this is a really important topic to touch on.
I think being a nice person and kind gets you far. It sounds very ridiculous in a way, but I learned from some people who got fired that they didn't even receive any information about it, just that they couldn't enter the system anymore, and that was their firing process. And I think that's kind of pretty sad, because you always see people again in Web3. It's such a small space, and then to do something like this, I don't know, like people, on the one hand, we want community, we want people to pour in their heart and soul into this work, but then we're like, okay, we have to let go of you. Yeah, by the way, we cut you out of the system now. That's very harsh. And I would say, like, it's not just about these kind of things, but if you're just friendly and keep relations and keep in touch with people and stay decent and friendly and nice all the time, sounds very basic, but it will get you far as a founder, because we're in a sometimes also harsh environment, and being decent and being nice definitely pays off.
Yeah, I'd also add being transparent. A lot of the ethos of Web3 is all about transparency. People in Web3, if you don't already, you'll learn fast, can smell bullshit a mile away. And that also applies to the projects that you work with, especially smaller projects where probably there's not a bunch of layers between yourself and the founder or the CEO. So transparency definitely, I would say, goes a long way towards both attracting and retaining talent in Web3. The other one, I'd say, depends on, for whose benefit, the project's benefit or the people working there, because not always those two areas are the same. Typically, what the advice I give founders in regards to attracting people and retaining people in their teams is to make sure you have a sustainable plan for that role. Are you just looking to spend some money that you recently got from a funding round, or are you sure that you will need this role 6 months, 12 months down the line? I wouldn't venture beyond 12 months considering this Web3, but at least ensure that you will have a need for that role, and you're not just looking to, which is it's a good problem, but a common one to have, and it works for the business, but not for the people, which is you have to allocate funds to headcount. So let's hire a CMO, let's hire a head of business development, let's move from an external legal advisor to an internal CLO. But then you're just building the team you expect to need 12 months from now, and not the one you have or need today. So the other advice I'd give would be more directed towards, let's say, people running the projects, which at the end of the day also benefits the people working there, which is make sure your hiring steps are done sustainably, yes. And considering there's not a lot of founders here, the way I'd convert this into some useful advice towards you guys looking for a job is ask this question when you're being interviewed, yes. Ask people who are interviewing you, ask them, what is your plan for the role? What will my role look like 3 months, 6 months, 12 months down the line? Not even in terms of growth, let's say, but just in terms of sustainability. What do you expect me to do 12 months from now? And if they don't have a clear-cut answer of what you're expected to do and what you'll be doing 12 months from now and how the business is clearly going in a direction that needs you 12 months from now, that's probably a yellow flag or red flag for you guys as well.
Well, I would say that the relation between an employer and an employee in Web3 is also really about, I would say, investments. Like when you're a Web3 company or little Web3 company, you don't have like a big brand image. So everything is about, like, when you want to hire someone, the person will do or should do is due diligence about the team, about the project, about the vision. Like the classic thing you do when you buy a token, or, well, as you all know. And well, those employees are investors. They do not invest money, they do invest time, but it is maybe the most precious resource. So you have to sell them the vision, you have to embark them, and most of the time when you're a little project, that is all you have to do. You have to make people dream, and that's how we enter a startup ecosystem.
All good stuff, appreciate that. And, I think also too, like, really understand, does this organization have values, like legitimate just ethos of being in the ecosystem? Obviously there's been a lot of rug pulls and just bad organizations with bad intentions, so really taking the time to do your due diligence, right? Just like you're going to go and buy a token or a meme coin, you're spending all that time, it should be the same thing when you're looking for an organization. And then kind of one of the last questions that we're coming up with time, what's the current state of the market for hiring? What can we expect as we're in Q3 and Q4?
I think it's been a lot of consolidation after FTX, of course. Many roles disappeared, many people got laid off, and nowadays I would say there are 3 groups, or you can segment it in 3 groups. The big layer 1s, layer 2s are hiring, but not over-hiring, not overspending. It's just for some open roles. They're not like expanding big, just maintaining what they have, mostly. Then there's those projects that got funding maybe 2 years ago that are having runway problems in the next months. They will not be hiring, and where people are approaching you because they know there will just not be any more funding and they will look for something new. And there's a group of maybe not that many, but very, very high potential projects that are hiring and also hiring more at scale. And I think you should try to focus on those ones because they will definitely be building in the next years. And one like up and coming, actually already exploding topic is ZK probably. If you're in tech, then ZK, being a ZK developer or any way related to ZK is pretty strong. I mean, half of this week or even more was about ZK, I felt. Like most of the events at FCC, there was ZK day here, ZK something, and yeah, basically it's ZK. But otherwise also look at other coming narratives. But in the end, it shouldn't be just coming narratives because of course there are more ZK jobs nowadays than ever before. But if you're just not into ZK, it doesn't help you. You should do something you're really passionate about that differentiates you. And if it's DAOs, it's DAOs. And if it's real-world asset tokenization and you're from the fintech background or something like that, it's that topic. Yeah, so you should look for a good combination of what's demanded, but also what you're passionate about.
I do share the cycles she mentioned. Indeed, well, the market is recovering. We see kind of a correlation, natural correlation between, I would say, the Bitcoin price and the market in a way. It's not that high that it was in bull run, but it's better than it was a few months ago. So that is a good thing. But it really depends on the type of project, the type of sub-industry you're in. Infrastructure, DeFi maybe do well those days. And the type of roles, like every company has some cycles with, I would say, beginning with tech, then tech and products, then designs and sales, etc., etc. So companies have, well, some maturations that could be different on the ecosystem, on the different projects, on the visions, on the size. So yeah, maybe you should focus where the trend is, but you have also two projects in a few years to see who's going to be the big winner. There will be like a different ZK layer 2 or layer 3 solutions, or just one. Like you have to make your due diligence in order to see which project is going to be the winner, if there is just one, or where you're the most interested and then where you be good.
I'm thinking of an answer. So typically people say hashtag not financial advice. So let me say hashtag not career advice. But typically you see an inverse relation between the amount of jobs in the market and the level of confidence with which you can apply to one. So if you looked at how many jobs there were in the market, let's say a year and a half ago, let's say peak of the bull market, a lot of these projects were following a logic of let's fill in our ranks for the jobs we think we will need a year from now, and then the market crashed. Today, because there's so many less jobs available in Web3 and a lot of these projects contracted as well and dismissed people and laid off people, I would say you can regard the jobs that you do find out there in the market with a little bit more confidence than you would a year and a half ago. Because number one, if a project is still active and hiring today, it's because, well, they resisted, let's say, the bottom of the bear market, for those of you who believe it's past. But also, they've done some self-assessment and some soul-searching, self-audit in terms of what roles they actually need. So whatever roles they put out there, they are doing so after doing themselves some due diligence. So on average, I would say you can regard whatever jobs you find out there in the market today with a little bit more confidence that they know they will need those jobs. And that's something that you don't see typically in the bull market, yes? Still, hashtag not career advice. The other thing is that, you know, from the point of view of a candidate, it's still very important, like Remy was saying, that you do your own due diligences on the project as well. Yeah. So again, just because a project is active today doesn't mean that it's safe or that it will survive the bear market. Try and see as well, as far as due diligences go, one thing that is always very helpful and that I always recommend people to do is to look at the founders of the projects and what other projects they've been involved in. So if you see that this particular person has been involved in, let's say, 3 projects over the past 18 months, probably not a great sign of either commitment or, you know, where did the projects go. But if there's a commitment to that one project you're applying for, then probably you can also apply to that one with a little bit more confidence, yes? So not to make too much of it, I would, in these 2 fronts, these would kind of be my thoughts on it, yeah.
Funding is also a huge aspect. I think there's a lot of resources out there to figure out who's raising capital right now. Just some insider, like the SWE and Aptos ecosystem is growing. If you're a developer, like you want to get into an atmosphere that has a lot of potential, as well as the Cosmos ecosystem too. And I think there's a lot of resources and strategies to make the pivot. I personally think, like, because you guys are also early, you're doing the due diligence, you're here today, you're taking the right step. Probably went to some side events at ECC. You guys are all doing the right things, and it's like, just continue. You're creating the opportunity for yourself. You cannot wait for it. You got to go and make it happen. Final remarks from you guys. Last tips or pieces of advice for people looking for their next role within Web3.
Yeah, I really would emphasize find what you love to do, because sometimes we really pay too much attention to what's hype now, and hype cycles in Web3 are so fast. There are some evergreens, but usually it changes fast, and that's why I would say I sometimes meet people who have very distinctive profiles, and they always find a job, whether it's legal, whether it's DAO topics, and of course these topics are more niche, but they also might sometimes pay better because there's just fewer specialists of this out there, or stablecoin topics could also be, considering the scandals that we had that were also related to stablecoin topics. If you're good at these kinds of things, might also pay well and be, not pay well in terms of money, but pay well in terms of that you will have like a really great career with that, by distinguishing yourself. Because most people are they just want to be in NFTs or DeFi, and there are more jobs in these areas than in the niche ones. But at the same time, maybe if you want to stand out, really have a look also at the niche topics and see if there's something that you like about it. But yeah, the main focus is do what you like, because then you're passionate about it, then you're good at it, and whether there's a lot of demand for it or a little, if you're good at it, you will always have fun.
Agreed. Believe in yourselves. No, that's only half a joke, actually. You might not see it, but you are part of a larger movement with its own culture that more often than not is shared. For people that deal with a lot of candidates from Web3, a lot of huge workforces in Web3, there are some common denominators about the passion for decentralizing hierarchies, for example, decentralizing collaborative work. There's an approach to work that is common to people who are attracted to Web3. So from a cultural perspective, my recommendation would be make sure you are vocal about it once you join a project, yes. If you join a project and they tell you your particular ambitions or expectations in regards to the way you work don't fit Web3, don't believe them. They might not fit that project, which is fine and legitimate, but you are part of something larger and have confidence in what you want from it as well, and be vocal about it, because I do believe this is a movement larger than any one of us, and even larger than Web3 specifically. Every time we've had, let's call them revolutions in terms of the workforce, be it with the agricultural revolution, where people wanted to be compensated differently for their produce, or the industrial revolution in terms of safety for employees, services and tech revolution in terms of employee benefits, work-life balance. Every single time, the collective has won and pushed back against those who would resist it. I think we're at the beginning of something very, very early stage, similar in Web3. So feel confident about what you want and expect from working in Web3. And 10 years from now, we'll look back and we'll share a beer and laugh and see how much the work environment has changed, thanks to you guys as well.
Well, for the last advice, I would support what you said, and in particular, meeting people on BOD issues. And I would take an advice. The person next to me at the same panel last year said, and I found it quite insightful. So he said that the best way was to develop your career was to find a mentor. It seems a bit maybe original, but finding a mentor is a good way to have some new experience, some insider advice, and some new relation to some accessing to new networks, etc., etc. And we don't think about it. We don't reach to people spontaneously saying, "Hi, I wanna hear from you." But in a way, that's a closed ecosystem. You can talk to anyone, and if you find someone with experience that's has something for you, like would it be from the sector, from the position he has, etc., etc. You can find like the advice was to find free mentors in every vertical you want to acquire. Like you want to be good at marketing, okay, find someone in marketing. You want to work in tech, for the GAFAMs, for example, find someone from Google and reach out, not saying, do you want to be my mentor, but just saying, okay, I love what you do. What about grabbing a coffee and discussing your new products that you just issued and you make a post on LinkedIn, etc., etc. And in a way, I deeply believe this advice could make a difference in a career.
Thank you, guys. That's the end of the panel. Let's give a round of applause to all the panelists.
Thank you very much.